There was a time in my life that the ability to say no to something was very painful, and I would avoid it at all costs. Because as a child, I learned to be hypervigilant, I learned to be agreeable, and I learned to not to ever go against the grain. Now, post-awakening, and with all of the work that I have done and invested into myself, becoming a new version of myself, becoming my I divinity, and releasing my identity, the wounds have become sources of wisdom. So, if you have a difficult time saying no to something, and sometimes saying no to your children or your spouse or your parents, certain people is harder to say no to. So I'm talking about the people where you notice something comes up that is difficult to say no to, even if everything inside of you is telling you that you should say no to it. And so what would happen is I would get sick, and that was my I divine self allowing the energy of what I was creating in the future, and it was sending it back to that present moment so that I could feel the impact of what saying yes when I really want to say no will have on me at a later date in life, to spare me unnecessary suffering. So this is why I know some people wonder why is Campson still dealing with illness if everything that she's doing really works? Seems like she would be the healthiest person in the world. That's spiritual ego. This is the point where the ego is trying to perceive what it thinks being whole is about. So my divine self said, we're not going to do it that way. We're not going to just take her sickness away from her because of whatever she's doing. We're not going to do it that way, because she still has a part of her that will kill her own self to be in service to others. She still is healing the martyr savior programming. So when she does get sick, she doesn't have a choice but to stop and care for herself in the most extreme way possible, because oftentimes the level of self-care that we choose is based on whether or not we're going to disappoint somebody in our life. Because let's be real, radical self-love to yourself is a major trigger for other people in your life who benefited from the old you. It's not personal. It just is what it is. And this is actually spiritual. It's not personal at all. So I get some of the most powerful Akashic downloads and books that I'm writing, and challenges, and the pujas, and when to do them and why. All of this comes to me when I am in a state of surrender, and when my ego has taken its TKO and is resting. I'm able to perceive things outside of the hologram of my wounds. And this is why I don't hide that. I love the fact that I had built my empire with a chronic illness. I was a single mother. I was homeless for a while. You know, I love the fact that I said, no, I don't want my life to become perfect. Let's keep this thing. Because let's be real, most of us, a lot of the things that we're experiencing in our life, Not because you're under psychic attack by something outside of you, but the spiritual ego is having a difficult time letting go of control because you allowed and relied on your ego for so long that now that you are cultivating other parts of yourself, your I divine self, you're connecting with your wounded inner child, you're connecting with your shadow self. Now that you are learning all of these fractals that live within the kingdom of what you call I, the ego feels threatened, and it's only doing what it's supposed to do, which was help us survive. But a lot of us have outgrown that, and it's time to grow into your I divinity and exit your identity and realize you don't have to respond the way you always have. And to know that triggers from other people and from yourself are simply a firewall your I divine self put in place so that whenever you got off course or distracted from what really matters, that there would be a reflection showing you the unconscious, subconscious self that is scripting a narrative based on a victimhood program that was the result of the trauma that you have experienced in this life and past lives as well. This is why it feels so intense. So, if you don't remember anything else, the main takeaway is this: nothing is as it appears to be. To see with the third eye is to see things from a heightened awareness that leads to thriving instead of surviving life. I am proof that no matter what appears to be the obstacle, it does not have to dictate the success that you came here to create for yourself and experience. And the next time you're triggered, or your kids get triggered, or your spouse, or your parents, co-workers, whoever, the next time somebody get triggered, just remember, all of us are wounded. All of us are healers, here to be healed and to heal others. Know that triggers are not personal attacks against you. It's our story that we are still acting out in unconsciousness because we have not given attention to the shadow aspects of ourselves, because first we must love ourselves enough to see that shadow aspect, but resist self-hatred. And if seeing your true self is going to lead to more self-hatred, your I divine self will just allow you to be in a space where you can't really see yourself for who you really are. Man, your third eye has just been kissed.